Hello and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I'm glad to be here one more time. I have with me my co host.
And good afternoon, good evening. It is great to be back here again on this week. You know what? 14 days, 14 days from today, America will make a great decision. We'll make a decision not only nationally, we'll be making decisions statewide, all over the country, municipalities. And the most important thing that I think is that oftentimes it's the thing that we forget. It's what really makes this country what it is. I remember reciting that part that said, with liberty and justice for all. And guess what? When we stand and we make these decisions, I often wonder, do many forget about that part, with liberty and justice for all? We're going to have a great time as we dive back into last week's show. And Dr. Val, we're excited because the fact we get a chance to do so with some very well versed individuals who are not only very knowledgeable, but definitely they're able to bring it and tell it like it is.
Absolutely. I'm excited for our guest. And, one of the reasons why I created this platform was to empower the community. We suffer because of lack of knowledge. And so the amendments have been a struggle for so many people. Every election, when they have amendments, people are so confused because of the languaging that they use. It's like they're not talking English. And it's not clear. So people get confused. So last week we talked about Amendment 3 and 4, which was marijuana, legalizing marijuana, but that was for 21 and up. And then 4 was abortion rights. So that was 4. And we had a dialogue about that. We will do a refresher with that as we go through 1 through 6. We're here in Florida. So we're doing our due diligence to empower the individuals in our community to get out and vote. It is your right. Don't give up your right and power to choose, regardless of who you're voting for. We're not going to tell people how to vote or who to vote for. That's not my assignment. But we want to make sure that everybody participates, because we will be held accountable for the choices we make anyway. So we need to make sure that we do our due diligence, do our research, register to vote. We Google everything. We Google movies, we Google outfits. Google the people in your community that are running for government. And please, 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 please do not pass up on the judges and the commissioners, the senators and the governors because they govern your state. Yes, we have the president, but there's an umbrella that we're under that controls the funds in our community. So we don't want you to miss and bypass any of the candidates on the ballot. Why am I saying that? Because I used to do it. I was young and unaware, and if I didn't understand something or didn't know who this person was, I would just skip over it. But guess what? Not voting is still voting.
Absolutely.
So don't skip over anything. So Dr. J, our special guest.
Well, backed by popular demand tonight, we definitely have Attorney Salesia Smith-Gordon, who is not only a wealth of knowledge, but one of the reasons that we love her so is because of the fact this is a person who speaks what she says, and she's always very well studied. And I've always admired the fact that, in addition to being an incredible attorney, so the state of Florida has a jewel, but she's also known nationally for a lot of the work that she does, but she also have a background in pharmacy. And so her understanding of things it's a little different. And I love that about her inside of it. So she's with us tonight, bringing back some real great explanation and analyzation of these amendments.
Okay, and our next guest.
And our next guest, he's back with us again. Well, it's been a while since he's been with us, but it's our dear friend, former Senator Joseph Gibbons. Joe is passionate about his country. He's passionate about laws. And he's passionate that people know to get out and the importance of voting. And I love it. You know, Joe's the type guy that if anything is going on that he thinks that you need to know about, I'm going to get a text, I'm going to get an email, I'm going to get a smoke signal and say, hey, you need to be a part of this. You might want to tune into this, and then we appreciate it. It's always brings a wealth of knowledge. So welcome to the both of them back with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there we go. We can do it just like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Salesia, how you doing?
Oh, good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I was contacted by you in the last couple of days, and I'm looking forward to following up on that contact.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about the amendment. So let's get into it because I know there are some pros and cons to it. So who wants to take number one?
Well, Joe,
I'll take it. What Amendment 1 does is our school board races right now are nonpartisan. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat, it's nonpartisan. What Amendment 1 would do is it would make it partisan. In other words, starting in November of 26, you would have a Republican primary and a Democratic primary, and you'd have the two parties then running for school board seats. Right now, it's completely nonpartisan, and I think that's the way it should stay. Because when it becomes partisan, what happens is there are things like in school board, there are a lot of contracts. And when in fact, when you get involved in partisan politics, what happens is people favor when the contracts come up, people in their party. So when it's nonpartisan, that doesn't have a play at all. What nonpartisan means that the best people win, because if you're an independent and it's it's partisan, if you're an independent, you don't get to vote because you don't belong to a party. When it's partisan, you have to belong to a party. So you disenfranchise everyone who's not a member of a party. So therefore, I think it should stay the same. It gives us more inclusivity and it keeps people engaged and involved. And it keeps I'll call it from politics, the contractual obligations that come along with being elected for people who owe people favors and how you collect campaign contributions. So that keeps, when it's nonpartisan, it keeps all that stuff out of it. And it just gets straight down to let's look at who's best for education.
That sounds like a strong no.
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation because of the fact, when we start talking about, not making it partisan, I look at it from a standpoint that, especially when we talk about things like school board, we talk about our education, we talk about our kids, we talk about all those things that are involved. And I think the moment that we start putting partisan inside of it, not only do we have this power of being persuaded in a way that is that oftentimes is unfair. It goes to the biggest bidder, and now a person feels the need to do their party's bidding inside of the things that they do and how they react to it. But let me ask this question, because the fact we talk about school board being nonpartisan, and I agree. I think that it should be. I wish that everything could be nonpartisan and people could vote different lens, but that's not what it is. Are there any other offices that when they're running that they're so nonpartisan? Does that apply to local or county judges at all?
It does. Judges run nonpartisan as well. But go back to the school district board, because the flip side of that is those who, if it becomes partisan, then you have transparency. You know who you have. Now with diversity, equity, and inclusion, book banning being a real issue, people want to know where you stand or where you're likely to stand. So that is the flip side of that to consider. So I'm just putting that out there for consideration. Yes, judges are nonpartisan as well. Well, let me rephrase that.
It should be.
The race, the election is nonpartisan. That does not mean that the judge is nonpartisan. Don't get that confused. So on your ballot this year for Palm Beach County, you have one race that is your county court judge race between Lourdes Casanova and Jean Marie Middleton. They're in a runoff. Jean Marie Middleton has 30 some years of experience in being a lawyer. Absolutely. She has gone up to the governor for consideration of being a circuit court judge a number of times. Lourdes has also, her name has also gone up out of committee, I think twice. Jean Marie is an African-American female. Lourdes is
Right.
a Hispanic female. Both are qualified people to hold the office. So I will say that. I have been very transparent in my endorsement of Jean Marie Middleton. I know both ladies, right?
Yes.
For other judicial races, which are what's called the merit retention races. So on your ballot, and I will probably say, I've been part of the legal team, canvassing team, when we have to go back and count the ballots and make sure that they're all correct. So many people skip over the judges, and especially the merit retention. Even lawyers, like, we don't know them. All right. So, but here's the deal. For the merit retention, the governor is, the names go up to the governor. The governor is going to appoint who he wants. So in a sense, I hate to say it this way, it's better for the devil that you do know, because he's going to appoint whoever he wants to appoint anyway. So
he feels.
Say that again, Joe.
Whoever agrees with his policies.
Yes. And he's already got, what he's got already is he's got the House, he's got the Senate, and he's got the Supreme Court. And by and large, he has most of what's called the district courts of appeals. Mm-hmm. So those are his appointments. So if we decide to unseat someone, he's just going to put somebody else in that seat that might be even worse. Okay. So I would say vote for those, retain the judges, and my endorsement of Jean Marie Middleton.
Well, now I'm on the other side. I voted against all the judges, because when I look I look up the judges' background, and I look and see if in fact they're a member of the Federalist Society. If they're a member of the Federalist Society, you know what the Federalist Society preaches. So if he's going to appoint somebody else from the Federalist Society, you know the devil. The devil you know is the devil you know. And anything, if you look at I look at the judges' backgrounds, where they've been, what society
and what they've done,
and what they. But if they're a member of the Federalist Society, I'm telling you what they've done, because they don't.
I think all of them are. At this point, I don't know. I voted
against all of them.
That's right. I don't know a judge who is not, which is really problematic and concerning on multiple levels. That people, those who want to join and those who feel like they have to join a society in order to keep an office or run for an office. That is concerning and should be concerning for any citizen that is done. But be that as it may, all of the judges are members of the Federalist Society. That is very, 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 very conservative. That's
look at the Supreme Court. Look at the appointees to the Supreme Court. All members by Donald Trump, all members of the Federalist Society. And they are going to rule. You know how they're going to rule before the ruling comes down. Yes. So therefore, I know that.
That's why I say get rid of all of them.
I'm with you.
Yeah. But and then you just get and so by doing so, though, then he's just going to appoint others, and then you have a
learning curve. They have a learning curve.
They have a learning curve. I got you.
Maybe not so much. Depends on who it is. And then they're very young. So that's about it that I can say about that.
Amendment 2.
Amendment 2 is fishing and hunting. Right now, Florida already has a constitutional right to fish. We have permits if you're going to fish and hunt. I carry a permit. I scuba dive and I'm not great at spearfishing, but here you go. But the thing is, you vote no for this amendment on the ballot means that there are some constraints and restraints on over hunting, over fishing, using netting that's improper, depleting our fish and depleting our animals, or extinction is real. People will do that for money, and then we will be out and then having to restart. And so there are some elements of controls that we have now sizes of fish that you have to throw back, sizes, different seasons for which you can fish or can hunt. There are rules and regulations in place already. So my vote for
Right.
that, no, that's
Well,
my
Right.
my vote is
Because if we
definitely
don't have any constraints, that means prices are going to go up for us when we're going in our grocery stores and out eating for entertainment, because the charges will be so much higher if the sea is depleted.
Yeah, but my thing is take it to a deeper level. Take it to a
Yeah.
deeper level. Why do you need to put this in the Constitution if you already can do it? And this was something that was brought by the legislature. Okay,
Yes.
so if you look, the legislature does not bring the charter to change the Constitution for no reason. And what this would do is it could preempt some conservation things that are
Right.
allowed on certain lands. That's the devil in the detail. What this would do is give the state the ability to preempt some conservation stuff. And so that's the only reason they're doing it. They're not doing it because it needs to be in the Constitution. It's already the law. You can hunt and fish
Right.
all you want. So there's a reason they're doing it. Always look, why does somebody want to do this? Why
It's
do they want
money.
to do this? It's for a reason. And that everything. But what I'm saying, but it'll preempt some conservation things that could happen because the state then overrides local governments and things like that.
Absolutely. And that is very concerning to
So
me.
I'm a definite no.
Yeah.
And so I would say, in hearing this, and I have to say, I'm not much of a hunter, haven't done that, and not much of a fisherman, although I like seeing people fish and everything, but I do understand the reason for it. But I think you just shared some very important information, because we see that type of tactic happens a lot, both statewide and federally, where you'll see all of a sudden we want to pass a law that really there's no need to pass it because it already exists. So
Yes.
Right.
if I'm hearing you right, there's always the devil in the detail, because it's not that they don't know that it's there, but they're actually trying to have a way to usurp, if you would, certain things by adding that
Yeah,
inside
the
of
ability
it.
to do something else. The ability to
Yeah.
do something else.
Something, yeah. Trying to find a solution for which there is no problem.
Correct.
Right. And we do see that happens, and it's always dressed up real good though in language. It's always dressed up real good in the way they present it, and you think that,
Some
boy,
lawyer
I'm
wrote
really
it.
doing something great. But
Some
in all
lawyer wrote that.
actuality,
You know that.
yeah, and it's
I'm a fishing
interesting.
person. I love to fish. I fish for food. I don't fish for sport. And
I got you.
there's nothing wrong with the laws we have. There's nothing wrong with the laws we have in place now. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. It would be depletion of our resources for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, it's a no. Amendment 3.
Well, we talked about Amendment 3 last week. That's how you feel about the recreational marijuana. We discussed this offline and off topic. There's some new information about this, though, interestingly enough, that there are challenges to it being on the ballot already. Even though it's on the ballot, there are already challenges indicating that there's some people who there's at least one person who's been convicted because it's had to get on the ballot by a number of signatures. And some of the signatures have been determined not to be valid. And the question is, are there enough signatures now still that exist for it to actually be on the ballot, even though it is already on the ballot? So what I say for that is that, those who don't want it on the ballot are already finding reasons to challenge it. So
Can I interject something like this on that whole thing? Now, when we look at Amendment 3, when you think about a constitutional amendment, we passed a constitutional amendment to restore felons' rights, correct?
Right. The old Amendment 4. Yeah. Mhm.
No, to restore. But now what happened is it goes back to the legislature to make the rules. And on the restoration of rights, the rules they made, they came up with the fact that you had to have all your fines and everything paid. Wasn't what you voted for, but it goes to the legislature. Now, we have a super majority Republican legislature. I served there for 8 years. They're going to do what they want to do with it. They will make the rules to favor them. And I'm not, everybody's yes on 3, and that's fine. But just know that big money is behind Amendment 3. And the reason they're behind is because it's going to go to the Republican legislature, and there's this thing called campaign contributions. All right. And this thing called lobby fees. I know all about that. And I'm just saying that all this money is not being spent because they want to decriminalize marijuana.
Right.
This money's being spent because somebody's going to make a whole
lot of money.
And a few people are going to control it. Now, the decriminalization thing, I'm 100% for. But don't try to fool me and saying you're doing it because you don't want black people arrested no more. Just be honest with me and say, hey, there's going to be a lot of money made, and it's going to be controlled by, if it goes to the legislature, they have people who are friends of theirs. And when they make those rules, I will guarantee you that the friends of theirs will benefit most by the rules.
And they don't look like us.
No. And if we're lucky, we'll get a crumb.
Maybe.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to something that we said last week that I was very concerned about, because to a certain degree, you know, from a certain perspective, you said, well, you know, it's about time. We've seen so many of our people arrested, gone to jail, and you know, for marijuana sale and marijuana smoking, as far as that go. And finally, about time, you know, they make it legal. But in all actuality, they make it illegal after Pookie did 20 years. They make it illegal after all that. And now Pookie is out. It still won't be able to rejoin, if you would, the business that got him in there. And because the fact of the other things that are there, you know, I think you talked about existing refinery to existing those type of things. Well, Pookie been gone 20-something years. He haven't had time to have a refinery. And so there's definitely no really, if you would, there's no restoration of that person in terms of that. And then now you make it legal. And illegal in the very thing that he and others have spent years incarcerated about. Now it's legal, and people can do it and make goo-hoobs of money, and it's all good.
But only a certain number of people gonna make goo-hoobs of money.
Right.
That's my whole point.
It's not going to, and I think it's going to affect us as a people, because like I said, the way it says it's from 21 on up. So what about those 10 to 20-year-olds that are out there? It's not going to stop them from getting bad marijuana. It's not going to stop them from going and buying it on the street. It's not going to allow them to get jobs, because they're going to still be corporations that are going to have you do drug testing. And you're not supposed to have that in your system. What are you going to say? But it's legal now. No, that prohibits you. But people never follow the rules, is my point.
Well, there's only so much you can control on that. So for the children or those who are under the age of 21 who don't go through the proper procedure of purchasing the marijuana at the defined dispensaries, because this amendment is for defined dispensaries that have licenses, have buildings, and it's not for Joe Blow on the corner, because that's still illegal. Okay, it's still federally illegal. Just in Florida, if it passes, it will be legal to have a certain amount, and that amount that is for recreational use is of a different strength than that which is for medical use, number one. But to take your point in terms of the kids, if they're 10 to 20-year-olds are doing it already, there ain't nothing you can do to stop that. I mean, really, I'm just being real with you. If they're going to be doing it, what you going to do to stop that? So
exactly. And then you're going to have them acting up in schools. School teachers are already quitting by the droves because
they're already doing that.
Right.
So
exactly. But giving it a pass and voting, all I'm saying is saying it's okay by voting yes is not going to change what's already happening, and it's not going to protect the kids under 21.
Well, what it will protect is this: from a pharmacological standpoint, on the real low down here, on the pharmacological standpoint, what it will protect is those people who are getting it from the corner and it's laced, because this won't have lace. This won't have laced with fentanyl and laced with other drugs in there that is causing all kinds of calamities and fatalities. And that's the safety parameters that is considered within this particular amendment.
That's one of the very positive things about the amendment.
Oh, the ones that are 21 and over, they can get safe marijuana, but it still leave exposed those under 21.
Yeah.
Well, but this isn't applying this amendment does not apply to people who are not of age, just like alcohol does not apply to people of age, just like cigarettes don't apply to people of age. But yet you still have children who are smoking. But if those who want, I mean, and we talked about this offline. For drugs for kids, they do stuff that we didn't even think about. Glue in the closet. Come on, I mean, so if you want to get high, and they're going to find a way to do
They're
it.
going to find a way to get high.
Yeah. So what we're talking about are the masses of people who are mature, who have a desire because it's recreational. So that's the desire versus a need, which is medical. And then there's some safety parameters. Those people can have a feeling of safety that what they're getting and what they're purchasing is a safe strand. Other countries have been doing this for eons, and it has worked very well. Still, people gonna get rich, a lot richer than they are, whatever. But in terms of safety parameters,
Right.
It is a safer way to go.
That's true. Very true.
Well, for those that are watching now, whether you're watching us by YouTube or whether you're watching us on Facebook, definitely by Facebook, if you have a question or comment you'd like to, please put it in the comment section inside of this. I think this is one that this particular amendment really have needed the explanation, because it can be very complex inside of one thing, because we do desire to control things that we can't control now. It's interesting you talked about the whole glue. I can recall when I was in school, kids were sniffing glue, but they didn't generally look like us at all. We didn't
Right.
sniff glue. We didn't do that type of stuff. But I always thought it was interesting that they found ways to get high.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shoe polish, and
Yeah.
yes, there are all kinds of ways that people do things.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting? Because I always look at it in my other hat that I wear. I always say, why is it that people seek this high? And we're not necessarily talking about addiction right now, but we are saying that why is it that people choose? Why is it that I feel a need to get high?
Euphoria.
Some people go work out when they're stressed out. Some people do other things, but I have this thing about whether we face reality or escape reality. People, they have their own choices there. The problem is when things are not safeguarded, like curling is right now. So much can happen. So much can happen. Unfortunately, I know the story of young people. When I say young people, they're full-grown adults. They got a hold of bad drugs, and we're talking about lace, and a few of them have never been the same.
I have family members. I have a brother that got bad drugs as a teen, and so I'm well aware. So I'm looking at it from both sides, but I look at it like Amendment 2. It's already being done. It's already in position. Why fix something that's not broken? And let's go on to Amendment 4.
But Amendment 3 is not already there.
Right. I will go back
to
that.
we have marijuana is okay to buy if you like for health reasons.
That's medical.
Medical marijuana.
That is by prescription and only through a physician.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in the 21, and it's almost like, okay, so you can go there and say, I need this. I want to buy this. I'm 21. You got fake IDs, and you got kids going in there buying it for 20. That's 21 buying it, and then going to sell it to the younger.
I don't know about that. I do know, this has been around for children from a medical standpoint who have Tourette syndrome, who have epilepsy, who have cancer, who have, I mean, there are all kinds of disease states, chronic pain, who have all kinds of disease states for which marijuana has been extremely useful for many, many, many years, and comes in different forms and formulas for that particular ailment. Amendment 3 is a bit different because that is for recreational use only, not for medical use.
Not medical. Right.
Yeah. That's why I said leave it medical. We don't need no recreation.
Well, Well, what, once again, I think this, and this is what makes this such a complex thing. It depends on how you look at it.
Right.
People are going to recreate one way or another. And
Yeah.
the thing about it in this way, what they're saying is that we're going to make it safe. In other words, this is recreation. It's legal. You're going to be restricted to only so many ounces inside of that. And you know that what you're getting is not being laced with anything that gives you something else. So that's the safeguard inside of it versus the fact, listen, Joe D, the street pharmacist, you have no way of regulating. And what you might be getting is not just the marijuana. You might be getting marijuana. You're seeing the birds. You're seeing the birds swim. You're seeing the fish fly, and all kind of other crazy things are happening. So
Saints in the church hopping and jumping around.
yeah. So definitely people need to take a deep look inside of it. I think both of your explanation was real good because when you take a deeper look, I appreciate the truth about the fact, okay, yeah, we talking about decriminalization of it, but let's be honest with it. Although that is a good point, we understand that, folks are gonna get paid. And generally, unfortunately, so much in this country is disingenuous. It's not really about the safety of caring for people. They become, if you would, an incidental. Okay. Oh, by the way, the reality is the fact we know that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and people are getting ready to get paid.
Money, 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 money.
Exactly.
Amendment 4, limit governmental interference into women's health and lives. My gosh. This is it's just baffled me to no end. So many different ways. I was having a conversation with my husband last night about it, and I said, well, why do men want to, why?
That's who we are. We like to be in control of everything.
Yeah, let me snip. That is, women
Oh,
that works too. That works. Recreation, not procreation. Talk about recreation, recreation, not procreation.
That'll handle that, okay? So, but no, seriously, after the United States Supreme Court made the decision about the Dobbs case and left those the decisions about abortion to the states, states then, many of the states, not all of them, went into, I want to call it a rampage. Florida's first ban was for 15 weeks, and then our governor, DeSantis, then reduced that from 15 to 6 weeks. So within 6 weeks, and the ballot, and I thought I had a copy on my table, and I don't, but the ballot actually indicates that it is from the point of viability. The question is that word viability.
Right.
Those who are pro-life say viability is at the point that they can hear a heartbeat. Others say no, it's when that entity can be outside the womb and live. But notwithstanding all of that, it is choice, and that choice is not necessarily really about life or death of an embryo, though that is important, because if somebody is raped, then rape and incest and the life and the health of the carrier, the mother, are supposed to be exceptions. But then how do you get to those exceptions? Who's going to go? By the time you argue and make the point that you were raped, you done had the baby. Okay? By the time if you were raped in this incestual, are you really going to go forth and talk about it?
Violated again.
And you're violating it, and then you're going to talk about it to elected officials who ain't got a dog in the fight.
But at 6 weeks, you don't even have to know you're pregnant.
You may not even know. You haven't
Exactly.
even known if you have missed your menstrual cycle.
Right, exactly.
And so it is a violation not only of that existing mother and embryo, but of her family. Because now the health of the mother is now jeopardized. Not only does the mother die, the embryo dies, but now you got an orphaned child that's already here who may be 6, 7, 8, 10 years old. And so it's just a violation of HIPAA rules. It's a violation. I see no upside to it.
No,
I see absolutely no upside. And for those who are saying and I had this conversation with the minister, God bless him. Everyone has their point of view. As my mom says, that's why there was Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors, enough for everybody to have one. And so, but, the thing is, it is that person carrying that embryo. It is that person, not you. It is that person who has to sacrifice. And God gave us choices. He gave us options. And he is a merciful God. And that's my belief. That's between that person and that person's relationship with God to make the best choice and decision for them. It is not for me to make for them.
And then from the woman's health standpoint, doctors are afraid in certain situations to even touch a woman. You got to look at
it's a felony.
Doctors are afraid in some states because they don't know what, they don't know what, whether they're going to be prosecuted or who's going to do what. I mean, it's about the health of the woman. That has to be considered. And doctors are afraid in some states to even touch a woman, no matter how bad. Look at the woman, ladies in Georgia that died. They had the ability to get health care, they would be here today.
Yeah. And it's a felony in Florida.
Yeah.
For a physician, they go to prison.
Would you say, and not say this, would you say that in this whole plight, you go back to Roe versus Wade, and we talk about this. I actually think what we're talking about today is almost a different version. What I mean by that is this. The old argument, I remember this in college. I never get having a debate on both sides of it, and boy, preparing all that information, on one presentation, you're pro-life and it was pro-choice. And today, if you look at it, it seemed to be a blurred language. What is pro-life and what is pro-choice inside of it? And so the old argument was that life begins, at conception, sperm fertilizing the egg inside of that. And that was the argument that was for that. And inside of this, we argued forever on both sides of this issue. I look today at what we see. I may look at it in a different lens, and I'll say this, even with the ministerial hat on. When I think about government regulating, now this is my view, and I probably get stoned for it, but it's okay. It's my view. When I think about government determining a person's right, I look at it a little differently. I look at it in this way here. If there was a law that came about and said that any woman who's had more than 5 pregnancies can no longer carry again, she's automatically got to terminate. She's got to abort. I look at that as government interference because you're mandating. However, I do look at it in the sense of the fact when there is a matter of life, death, the well-being of that mother, I do think that that's where government hand has to come out of the equation. Because as you said, there are a lot of things that happen. The whole mental dynamic and the traumatic experience of a woman being raped. And I've spent a lot of years, working in domestic and sexual violence, a member of the sexual assault response team and council here in Palm Beach County. And it is not easy. It's not easy. I think your point was so very well made up. Number one, many women don't even realize they're pregnant at 6 weeks. We just simply know that's the case. Listen, the rationalization. I teach men about things like that. And most time men doesn't get it, Joe. It's like, I said, you got to understand this here. She's already talked to us. Oh, I just missed. Oh, my cycle's late. And so by the time they're already at 8 weeks, by the time they try to rule out, well, maybe I'm just like this abnormal. How could you determine? I mean, so that those laws could not have been written from the perspective, in my opinion, of any medical doctor who understands this whole thing. But my other point is this. Traumatically, when a person goes through something like that, they're not coming forth. It's very hard to come forth. That's why I tell most men, it's, oh man, she just faked like she's raped. I said it takes a very delusioned individual to fake that I was raped because of the shame that comes with it, all the things that comes with it, the impact emotionally, all those things that comes with it. I personally have known people who have unfortunately had a child uh, from being raped. I also unfortunately know people who have
Yeah, me
had
too.
incestual,
Me
pregnancy
too.
and thing. And I'm telling you, it has impacted their whole view of life. It's impacted their quality of life. It's impacted all of those things. Now, consider us knowing those things that happens inside of that, and then the law will say that no, you can't do this because of the fact you're killing a life inside of this. I do think that that's not a decision for the courts to make. I just simply
Okay.
don't. I do think that, I understand we don't want abortion to be what we call some form of birth control, but we should not make, if you would, we should not be able to come in and say, no, in the case of definitely the well-being of
Right.
this mother and even the well-being in the life of a child, sometimes things have to happen. I think this is always going
Yes.
to be a slippery slope. I think that people weaponize it for their own benefit, but at the end of the day, some things are common sense. 6 weeks, no, not at all. I had
I'm,
36
Okay.
time.
I'm in the mind your business camp. Why do
Yeah,
you have to
yeah.
do my personal business, my personal health care?
Yeah, I
Mind
got,
your business. I'm in the mind your business camp.
I got
Okay.
you.
So that's a strong yes. Amendment 5. Homestead.
Okay, so that's a strong yes for 3 and 4.
Yes.
Okay, so Amendment 5 and Amendment 6 deal with your money, period. It
100%.
deals with the Benjamins. So homestead is for Amendment 5 really pertains to people who own homes. But even if you don't own a home today, you may own a home tomorrow. So you need to vote on this and think about it, okay? So right now, if you own a home, you have a $25,000 tax exemption to go towards your property. This amendment allows for a fluctuation for inflation. And so that's what it does, so that as inflation grows, your exemption grows. To what parameter it is based? What is it based upon? The index.
Consumer price index.
Yeah, consumer price index. So is that important to do? I don't know.
No, no.
I would say I'm voting no for that myself. I don't see a whole lot of benefit to it for us. I'll let Jill chime into Amendment
Okay, but
5.
here's the issue. Here's the issue with that. Local government, that's you messing with. I was a city commissioner. Now you're messing with my money because that has nothing to do with the state. All right, that's money that goes to local government, the county and your city governments. So now you're trying to control my budget based on the consumer price index. There's no sense of assurity. How do I make a budget when it's going to be up and down depending on what's happening with the economy? All right. So therefore, I can't. How do I make a budget as a city commissioner, as a mayor, when the forces outside of what happens controls how much money, what the homestead exemption is going to be, how much is going to be exempted, how much are we going to get? So that's the bottom line. Is you're hurting local governments. And why should here we go to state again? I call it unfunded mandates. The state comes in and they tell local government how you can tax your people based on the consumer price index. There's no sense of assurity, and you're going to just take money from local governments. That's all you're doing, which is your police, your fire, and everything that's local that means something to you. It's left up to something other than a straight. We know it's 3%. We know what 3% is. We can make our budget based on that. And then when property values go up, as they did here in Palm Beach County, we know when we do a rollback on our ad valorem taxes, or which we should reduce them actually because you're going to get more money because the value of the properties are going up. But what this does, you throw a whole lot of other factors into the mix that don't need to be involved, especially for local governments. How do you do your police budget? How do you do your fire budget on a strategic basis? Because you don't know what the exemption is going to be. That's my bottom line on that one. Why do I want to get involved in that? Why do I want to cast my faith to the wind when it comes to funding local government?
So that is a strong no.
That's a very strong no.
Strong no. Amendment 6.
Amendment 6 is also money, and that deals with your cabinet, state cabinet elected officials, your governor, your attorney general, your chief financial officer, and your Commission of Agriculture, as of now, when you're running for those offices, there are some parameters to the amount of money that you can spend. And it is matched by the state funds, but you have to raise at least $100,000. And then you go into a matching pool. So Joe can talk more about how that matching pool works, as he knows that firsthand.
Yes.
But my point is this: for those people who want transparency and not to have the influx of money coming from extremely wealthy people and have no controls from other countries and all that stuff, then you need to vote no on this, so that there are some parameters and some controls. And it also gives people who are not extremely wealthy an opportunity to run, because you do have those matching funds.
Right. To me, that's the key point. What it does is it tries to level the playing field. We are Citizens United, where people can get unlimited amounts of money from the private sector for your campaigns. And the Citizens United said, hey, corporations are people and they can donate all they want. What this does is this says that if you meet certain thresholds, you can get matching funds from the state government for your campaign to try to balance the playing field out. It's not going to balance it out, but it will help you. It gives the little man an opportunity to run for statewide office and have some help from the state government. It's not going to balance it out, but it can help.
But it also keeps those who have big money within some kind of box of not being able to outspend the little guy.
Only if they want to get the state money, because some people don't care about the state money. If I get $50 million from somebody, do me a favor, keep your little $200,000, okay?
That's right.
Because I'm dealing in real money here. I'm dealing in millions. Elon Musk, how much did Elon Musk give President Donald Trump? $70 million, like it's nothing. You know what I mean? So the state matching funds in that case, you see what I'm saying? So you're going to have big money in there. Just give the small person an opportunity to have some help with their campaign, period.
But the real deal, those people who are in those cabinet positions aren't generally poor.
Well, I know some people who have run. For those positions that didn't have a whole lot of money, and they depended on that. They depended on that money to help make their campaign try to get their message out. It helps you get your message out. It doesn't make the playing field level, but it gives you additional resources to make you more competitive.
Okay, so Joe, one of the things I would like you to do is talk about why is it important for individuals to vote for their local government in their communities as well. And Attorney Salesia, if you would follow up with that so that we can bring some clarity of them not passing over things on the ballot.
God, that's critical.
All government is local. All government is local. Actually, these local races can mean more than the big races.
Right.
Because this is what happens to you on a regular monthly basis, a city commission meeting, at a county government meeting, at a school board meeting. They're making decisions that affect you directly as opposed to indirectly. So those, to me, those races are as important as the big races, because again, it's the people you deal with who make decisions about your garbage collection, about all the stuff that happens to you at the local level. And it has influence on the reason. Like, I'll tell you right now, in Palm Beach County, it's become very partisan at the county commission level. Right now, the county commission is controlled by Republicans. And I'll tell you right now, in the last 2 weeks, there was a lot of money thrown into a candidate running for the county commission who was appointed by Ron DeSantis, because they want him to keep that seat, because there's some things coming up in the county in the next year or so that's going to affect other things in the county that you wouldn't think that it would affect a county commission race. There's no reason why you would have all this money in the last 2 weeks going behind a county commission candidate to try to keep our county commission Republican as opposed to Democrat. Palm Beach County has been a Democratic county until in the last year. All right, you had a drag from Ron DeSantis that dragged Republicans in, and now they have control. And with that control, there are things that they want to happen in the next year or two where those votes are going to be critical. So for some people, it's extremely important that it stays partisan and that it stays Republican.
I would also say, for those people who only want to vote for the president, understand that the president has to have a supporting cast in order to get anything done.
Well, we should.
Well
Yeah.
said.
You gotta have
Well
some-
said.
and those are the people who your congressmen or congresswomen, your senators, and then of course your commissioners and the supervisor election. All of these, which you would not think are important, they're important because those are people who are going to count and certify your vote to make sure that they count.
Mhm.
They're the people who make sure that you have those things that you really care about every day.
Every day, day-to-day living.
Correct.
Day-to-day living, that those things are in place. And so when people are upset about something that happens in the community, whether it's an improper shooting or a fatality, I want to ask them, did you happen to vote for the mayor? Because we have a strong mayor. That person is the one who appoints the chief of police. So you can march all you want to. That's just good exercise.
Exactly. Mhm.
Unless you vote, it's just good exercise. That's it.
I'll tell you, when I was a city commissioner, I used to get stopped in Publix on issues. People, when I was city commissioner,
Morris does too. I mean, what's that for Publix? He's an ice cream there. He gets stopped in the ice cream aisle, and I'm like, really?
but that's local government, because that was a direct issue they had, or something that wasn't being taken up, that where the local person is the person who could fix it and responsible for it. When I was a state representative, I used to tell my constituents, if you have any problem at the state level, if you're a barber having a hard time getting a license, you call my office, because I'm your representative at the state level. I'm there for you. A lot of people don't know you want somebody who really represents you at those levels, because they can do things for you that can make your life a lot better.
And for those who say I'm not political, let me tell you, it makes my skin crawl, because everything that we do is political. From the water we drink.
Yep.
We have right here in Palm Beach County, we have had some real concerns in certain cities about water,
Absolutely.
air that we breathe,
Right.
Mhm.
the erosion from the pesticides and fertilizers.
Right.
All of those are political decisions, to all the way down to people who wear false eyelashes. When there's an embargo, then your stuff is held up on some ship. You got to have a.
They'll get out and vote now. Not just.
I'm just putting it where, as they say, where the goats can get it, where people can really understand everything is political, because
Yes.
that's just, those are the rules and the laws. You have to have a license to do hair or to cut or to go be a barber. There are rules. That is political. There's somebody appointed to oversee that.
Yeah. And your state representative can go to the Department of Business and Professional Regulations if you're a barber having a problem getting a license, and get it straight for you.
Yes.
Your state representative, they can do those kind of things. So therefore, you want the right people there who, in fact, will really represent you, that you have access to and can go to if you have a problem, to fix your problem locally.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I think is so important, and this is the reason I love having, guests like yourselves here to explain things. One of the things that I think that we see such a great evidence of, and I think, I don't know if it's a lack of civics being taught in schools, but people don't understand. They don't understand how government works.
Right.
They really do not. They don't understand it, but they major in complaining after the decision has been made. Things happening right on their street, in their community. Well, when did they decide to build this? When did that decide to happen? It was, the decision was being made. Oftentimes, a meeting that you never went to.
Town
meetings.
meetings.
Happening in the city. You don't know what's happening in the county. You're not paying attention to anything. You're voting for folks because I've known them since they was in the third grade, but you have no idea what they stand for, and so you're not involved. And so people make decisions all the time. We see things happening around us, and we'll never get rid of what we call divisive politics. It's gotten ugly over the last several decades, and it's crazy now. But one thing I do know is this, is that if you don't get involved in becoming a know of the process, then you really have very little voice. And to all my fellow brothers and Christians and things like this, watch and pray. Okay, watch and pray. Watch is not simply saying watch television, but you've got to watch and be aware of what's going on inside of it. You're not going to pray it away if you don't even know what you're praying for, praying against, praying to happen. So we have to become knowledgeable. And that's one of the reasons that I think it's so important. We can say all day long that we don't want to be political. To your words that you said, Attorney Gordon, but everything is. Every single thing is. It is political. It will make that. I mean, everything. If everything from, okay, you got 5 schools on that side of the county, and you only have 2 here. Everything is political.
Or
And
churches.
we have to understand, if we don't play a part in it, if we don't become educated in it, and then we don't take time. Look how terrible local elections are. Look how terrible
Yeah, they're awful.
time the midterm elections are. Look how terribly there have been offices determined by less than a third of the people that lived in it. Look at the poor turnout, and then everybody else complains when it happens. You know,
I heard someone say, and this is interesting. There was a special on about voting, and specifically about Black women voting, and one of the women said that, well, she didn't feel her candidate did not win, and because of that, she didn't feel like her vote mattered. Well, heck, there are a lot of times I don't win, and I know I mattered, and so did my client. So you fight again. You live to fight another day. Just as you may complain about something at home or at work, you still go and you still do what you need to do, and then your complaint gets better. Your vote gets better. You still vote, and you still do that until your candidate or your issue of whatever you're voting for manifests. So that vote matters. Your voice is truly your vote.
Yeah, and if you vote, you are determining what happens to you. If you don't vote, other people are determining what happens to you, and you have no say in the matter. So you can't complain, because if in fact you want to have a say in what happens to you, you have to vote. That is the one thing you have that they try to take it from you for a reason, because it's effective and it can change things. So what I'm saying is that, people died so we can vote, and so we have to vote, because it is your voice. It's the way that you have to make a difference in the community and what happens to you. So you have to vote.
So we also have the state attorney. We also have the state attorney on the ballot.
Right, absolutely.
Election, which is very key, especially for many of your watchers, for everybody. Period.
Everyone, exactly.
The sheriff is on the ballot. So these are key positions. What is it that you want? What is it that you want for not just yourself, but for your family? And that matters. So we have Alexia Cox, who I have endorsed.
Absolutely.
Period. Dead stop, period. More than qualified. I don't know her opponent's name. I really don't. Who is a Republican. I don't know anything to say about that person. I don't know that person.
His name is Stern, but he is saying, Stern, yes.
Okay.
I do. He's a Republican. And all of a sudden, they're dumping a lot of money into his campaign, because it looks as if all of a sudden, the Republicans are dumping. Would you believe that in the last month, the Republican Party of Florida has put a few $1 million into Palm Beach County, into state office races, and into the state attorney's race? I mean, why are they dumping all that money in Palm Beach County right now? Why?
Because there's a certain agenda they want to be played out, and we see that happening. It is amazing, as a person who spent a lot of time and understand the state attorney office and been around. I personally have worked with Alexia Cox. I've both on many different areas, domestic violence and other things. And I am telling you, she's a real deal, and that's always been. I'm saying, and she takes on tough cases. She's proven herself in every sense. And when you hear an argument, here's my problem, regardless of who you, don't start off by saying a person is not qualified when all the evidence is there that they are qualified. When you got nearly a 94% prosecution rate in domestic violence cases, that's unheard of. Go and look up the state average. Go look up the average in almost any other state. That's almost unheard of. And for a person
prosecuted and won.
Exactly.
There's a police officer who wrongly killed someone. That took some guts.
That took some real guts. And how often have we gotten that type of conviction ever in this state? It is very seldom happen. I had the opportunity to be in the courtroom doing that nearly closing arguments of that. It was absolutely incredible what I seen. So I say it to say this: if we need to be in the know, and we can't always let big dollars be what determines our understanding perception. We need to be in the know. We need to understand what's happening, and that's where the difference is made.
Mm. At
Yeah,
the
Dr.
end,
Val, I know our time is up.
yes, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that everyone goes out and vote. You know, I've heard so many times and talking with people where they say, well, you know, I'm not going to vote for anybody. And then when they say they're going to vote, they say, well, I'm going to vote for Republican because, you know, the Democrats ain't did nothing. Well, you know what? We came out of COVID. And I think that a lot has been done. There were SBA loans that were given to companies so that they could stay fortified and strong. There was housing being built, and it wasn't for those individuals that came across the borders. But what has happened is you have people in place that have raised the rental rate and stuff because of some of the programs that have been put in place. But look at who put those perimeters in place. It's not benefiting us that are middle class. It's benefiting those that are upper class. And we don't want somebody that every day is going to be a reality show.
But now this is a nonpartisan. This is a faith-based program that's nonpartisan, so we have to be very careful. We're not endorsing anybody. We just give our opinions about these different issues.
Right.
Absolutely.
We just need to make sure that you go out and vote and do your due diligence, and you live in your communities. Look around in your communities, and then who knows, you may want to be the next commissioner or mayor in your city to make and bring about change.
I would encourage that.
Ebony Burke said that, you know, evil prevails when good men and women just sit back and do nothing. A lot of us just sit and look and do nothing, and we complain until it's the next election, and then you're still complaining because you won't go out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to do so. You think about the one issue that's been fought for many years, and we talk about when we talk about the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and things like that. You know, that's been a long time. I'm a native of Selma, Alabama, born.
We drowned out.
And the thing that inspired me as a young man was seeing those type of individuals that made us recognize that our voice was our vote, and our vote was our voice.
Yes.
I want to thank you both for joining us on Hot Topics from the Soul. And I encourage those of you who are viewing to pass this along, because maybe it will help someone in your household. And remember, please vote. Early voting has started here in Florida, so let's get to the polls. Let's get this job done.
Right. Share this with someone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.